Okay, so this is the last part of the review. If you look at question 12, if you haven't solved those two formulas for the given variable, do that right now and then come right back. Okay, so if you look at this first equation right here, there is absolutely no addition or no subtraction or no division. The only thing there is multiplication. There's invisible dots here, so these are all being multiplied. So to undo it, you know you're going to have to divide, okay, because there's only multiplication here. So the only thing you can do is divide. So what are you going to divide by? Well, you're solving for t. So you want to keep the t, you want to get rid of everything else. So I'm going to divide both sides by the things that are multiplied that I want to get rid of. So to get rid of multiplying by p, divide by p. To get rid of multiplying by r, divide by r. So both sides are going to get divided. And notice p divided by p is 1, r divided by r is 1. They cancel. T still there because I didn't do anything to t. And then over here I have I over p r. So if this is a formula for simple interest. So if you take the interest and you divide it by the principal times the rate, it should give you the time that it would take to accomplish that. All right, let's look at the next one. If you look at this one, there's a couple things going on. We're going to have to undo multiplication at some point because there's a lot of, multiplication here. Let's see here, we use division, sorry. So we're going to have to undo multiplication, and we're going to have to undo some addition here. So you can see that we have some adding here. So let's look at that. All right, so I'm going to solve for w. So to get rid of that, I'm going to undo the addition first, so order of op backwards. So to get rid of adding, I need to subtract the x. And now I'm ready to undo the multiplying with division. So I'm going to divide both sides. And what do I want to get rid of? Well, I want to keep the w. So there's my w. That's what I want to keep. So L and H are getting multiplied, but I want to divide to get rid of them, L and H. So the L's cancel, the H cancels. So the width is equal to V minus X divided by length times height. Now, if you want to, remember that kind of heart thing, if you want to divide each piece, that is legal. So V over LH minus X over LH equals W. That would be a legal answer as well. So either one is fine there. So again, sometimes people put the W first or the T first. So LH or so again, any way you write it, totally fine. All right, go ahead and try 13A, B, and C. Okay, so remember to write an equation, you need to know M and B, because what you want to do is you want to fill in the blank, the M with a number and the B with a number so that you can write an equation. So far I can start my equation. I just don't know what the B is, and so I can't finish it. So how do you do that? Well, you start out with getting M, which is checked, we've done that. So to get B, you can sub in 3 out of 4. Because you know this formula is going to work. You know M. You know input, which is your x, and you know output, which is your y. So my output is my y. I know my slope is 2. I know my input would be 4, and then plus b. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to solve for that guy. So let's simplify this first. So to undo adding, I need to subtract. Debt and debt makes more debt. So my y-intercept, or my starting amount, is a negative 16. And if you wanted to write it 2x minus 16, that's fine. Now, the good news is you can check your answers. So, do they both have m equal to 2? Check, that's good. Does this point work? So when you put input, output, does it work? So if you put 4 in, 8 minus 16 is a negative 8. That gives you the right output. Or if you subbed in here, 2 times 4 is 8 minus 8, negative 8. So I know that the equation y equals 2x minus 16 is correct. Now, if that doesn't make a lot of sense to you, the other thing you can do is make it, okay, so if that wasn't super smooth, that's okay. I accidentally put the wrong pointer in here, and so that's going to be hard. So, all right, so if we're going to make an input-output chart, it helps if you actually look at the right problem and put the right pointer in there. So this is at 4, negative 8, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 8. Okay. So I could go forward because rise over run, so I could add 2, which is negative 6, as this goes up by 1, which is 5. But if I go backwards, this would be subtract 2, subtract 1, and go negative 12, and then go that, and negative 14, and then go back to a negative 16. So my starting amount is a negative 16. So again, just fill in the blanks. So I know my slope is 2, that goes there, and my y-intercept is my starting amount, that goes there. And again, you could write 2x minus 16 if you want. So that's kind of option B. All right, try part B, and I'll come back. Okay, so again, we want to fill in the blanks, mx plus b to write a linear formula. We need to figure out m, and we need to figure out b. And so those are kind of, first and second what we need to do. So slope, I am given 2 points. So I can either do an input-output chart to get that. So this is going, what, up by 12? And this is going up by 6. So change in y over change in x would be 12 over 6, which reduces to 2 again, so we get a slope of 2. Otherwise, you can do the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Just be careful that as you go across, you remember that you subtract those numbers. So 6 minus a negative 6, and then 10 minus 4. So either use a calculator or add the opposite there, you get 12 over 6, which again reduces or simplifies to 2. So right now we have half the problem done. We know that the slope is 2. So I can kind of start my equation. Y equals 2. I don't know why it does that sometimes. I get off the page and then my pen doesn't work. Y equals 2x plus, and it's cutting me off. All right. I'm going to get out of here and I'll come right back. But go ahead, and now we need to try to figure out B. Okay, I think I got it to work, but we'll see. All right, so to figure out B, you can sub in 3 out of 4 into this formula because input and output and slope all have to work. So the nice thing is we have a couple choices. You can use either point. I'm just going to use this one because they're positive. So I have my input, which is my x, and my output, which is my y. So if I input 10, and my slope I know is 2, and my output is what, 6? And then I have plus b here. And again, my goal is to figure out what b is. All right, so I'm going to solve this. 6 equals 20 plus b. There's adding, so to undo it, I would need to subtract. So b is a negative 14. So now I could come down and be like, okay, I know my b, so I could put a negative 14 in here. Or if you don't want the plus and negative, you could do 2x minus 14. All right, so now you can check your answers. Nice thing is you have 2 of them to check. So if you input 4, that would be 8 minus 14 is negative 6. That checks. And input 10. So if you put 10 in here, what would that be? 20 minus 4 is 6. Yep. So since both my input and output work, I know my formula is right. Now the other thing I could do is have you use this formula to predict other values. So like when x is 100, what's the output? So you could put your input in here, 200 minus 14, and then you could get that answer for your output. All right, pause and go ahead and do, one other thing on that one, sorry, is you could make the XY chart. So I'm going to come up with a clean sheet here and we'll do that one. Okay, so this is still 13b, just doing it in a different way. You still have to get slope first. That's not going to change. So let's see, what am I adding? 12 and adding 6. So again, changing y over changing x. 12, 6 is 2. So that's 2 over 1. So as this goes up by 2, this goes up by 1. Add 2, goes up by 1, add 2, goes up by 1, add 2, goes up by 1, add 2, goes up to 1. And I can check myself, add 2, goes up 1. So if I go backwards, I would subtract 2 as these go down 1. And so that's another way to get your y-intercept. So there's my y-intercept. So my equation, y equals, fill in the blanks. You need to know 2 things. You need to know your slope, and you know your y-intercept. So your slope is 2, so that goes there, and then your y-intercept goes there. And that's your equation. And again, if you want to write it like that, fine, but again, you need to have a variable for x so that you have a place to put input, and you have a variable for y so that you can get an output. All right, let's look at C next. Okay, so this time they're not giving you the slope, and we still want to write the equation. So again, there's 2 options here. Since they don't give you the slope and they don't give you 2 points, you could do y equals mx plus b, and you could shove in 3 out of 4. The only difference is you know this one, you know input, you know output, you don't know m this time. So m is what you don't know. So you could solve for it though. So if I shove in my input, which is x, and my output, which is y, so my input is 2, my output is y, m I don't know, and my b is a -5. So again, trying to solve for that variable. There's adding and dividing and multiplying, or adding and multiplying here, so we're going to need subtraction and division. So first, let's get rid of this guy. You always get rid of adding first, because you're doing order of out backwards. And divide. So m is a -5/2. Negative there. Okay, the other option is you could be like, you know, Julie, I really have 2 points, and that's true. This is an order pair, 0, -5. So you could do the slope with those guys and get the slope as well. Another option is to make your XY chart, and that's probably going to help you see that you actually really do have 2 points, because you have 2, -10, and the y-intercept is your starting amount. So then you could do, this is going down by 5, this is going up by 2, and get that the slope is -5/2 that way. So lots of ways to get the slope, either with the chart and realizing that this is really a point. You could do y2 minus y1, or you could shove in 3 out of 4. Okay. Regardless, you still need to write the equation, so you're not done yet. So you need to know 2 things. You need to know slope, okay, and you need to know the y-intercept, which was given, and I think it was what, -5? And so you know them, so just fill in the blanks. And again, you have to have an x and a y in your formula. Those are not negotiable. So slope goes in front of your x, and the b goes separate. And again, if you want to write it as its subtraction, go for it. And the nice thing about these is you'll know if you're right or wrong before you're done, because it said it has a y-intercept of a -5. Well, check, that's true. And it goes through the point to -10. So the nice thing is you have an input and an output, so you can make sure it works. So shove in the 2. And again, you can do this RNA calculator. You don't need to, you know, do it by hand. So I can replace this x with what? An input of 2. So take -5/2 times 2 on your calculator and subtract the 5, and you should get a -10. Okay? So again, our equation is y equals -5/2 x minus 5. So let's do this input. If I put that input in to my formula, so I'm going to input, input 2, and if you type this in your calculator and hit enter, you should get the output of a -10, which you do. So then you know this equation is correct. All right, that's the end of the review. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in class.